Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, it is 6:30 and it looks like we have enough.
You're muted, Darlene.
You turn that off again. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. It is 6:30 and I will call the meeting to order. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Porcelain,
Here.
Penny-Stierna, Williams, Vulcan,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Cowart,
Present.
Esri,
Here.
Furtado,
Here.
Goss,
Here.
Harper,
Here.
King,
Here.
Lockshin,
Here.
McGuire,
Here.
Michaels,
Here.
Pasalacqua,
He's
Paul,
not here, Matt.
Here.
Rodriguez,
Here.
Storr,
Here.
Straub,
Here.
Summers,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Patterson,
Here.
Darlene, you're muted.
I've got to get back into remote meeting here. So the meeting is called to order. There's a quorum present. The meeting is being conducted remotely. As a reminder, please use the raise hand icon when you wish to be recognized by the chair. For the record, it is also noted that the county executive and 4 board members are here. That would be Jim McGuire, Aaron Esri, Jim Goss, and Stan Harper are in the Brookins Shields room. And they are physically present here in the building. Next will be the prayer, which tonight we have a prayer. Please join me. Dear God, everyone you've placed in our lives is there for a reason. Some will love us, some will teach us. Thank you for all of them, and especially for those who bring out the best in us. May they all be a blessing in our lives. Amen. Rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk read the notice of the meeting, please?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on January 20th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. via Zoom at the Brookings Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Okay, thank you. And I see that Mr. Williams has joined us. Anybody else new? Okay, thanks. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Can the executive get approval of the agenda, please?
So moved, Carter.
Would you please raise your hand if you want to speak, because I can't tell otherwise. Mr. Esri?
Esri, move the approval of the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Mr. McGuire?
Second, McGuire.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Dorsland,
Yes.
Ennis Theodorak,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss, Goss,
Mr. Gosh, you're muted. Nope, guess he's not here.
He's still here. He just can't get his
Oh, he can't get it.
microphone to work.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss, Goss,
Hmm.
Jim says just go on it. He got logged out or something for some reason.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
He's not here.
Yes.
He's still
Lockton.
here. He just can't get his
Oh, he can't get it.
microphone to work.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Okay,
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua,
Hasselak was not at the meeting.
Paul,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next is the date and time of our regular meetings. It is likely that we will continue to still have them remotely in February, so just be aware, looking for links. We have all of our standing committees, the Highway and Transportation, Facilities and Environment and Land Use. The Committee of the Whole will meet, and then the regular county board meeting on February 24th. Public participation is now being accepted. If there are attendees that would like to speak, and I do see a hand raised, you'll be allowed to talk for 5 minutes, please, and the clerk will keep track of the time. Mr. Axelrod.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So I just want to start. Alan Max Axelrod. I'm a resident of Urbana. I'm campaign lead of No Ameren Shutoffs, $0 all volunteer coalition of 53 member organizations spanning the state of Illinois and adjacent states. I just want to say I didn't ask anyone to show up today. So if they are, it's because they care and want to speak. This is done as a courtesy to the board. I just want to point out a couple concerns for tonight. Per the latest filings with the Illinois Commerce Commission, Mid-American Energy, which serves in territories northwest of us, shut people off during the winter moratorium. I constantly hear folks talk about the winter moratorium as if it stops shutoffs. There are stipulations that allow them to shut people off. So just please understand that as we go forward, that is going to be a continued concern throughout this, which is why this resolution before you tonight is important. It's also important to note that some utilities like Commonwealth Edison actually put in their December filings that they have pledged no utility shutoffs. That pledge has not come from Ameren, Illinois. So this resolution would do a substantial amount of good. They enrolled people in something called a deferred payment agreement. That is where you are making scheduled payments to catch up on your utility debt. However, once you have failed your deferred payment agreement, they can shut you off as soon as the temperature allows. That is the case for 25,000 of their customers right now. So this means that if the temperature allows, per the provisions in the Public Utilities Act under their so-called winter moratorium, they will be shut off. And that's why this advocacy through this resolution is so crucial. I also want to note that this is the 170th day that our 7-day average of coronavirus cases has been over 2,000 cases a day. And lastly, this is something that I hope is wrong, but this is something that was said on Sunday by the Attorney General. We shouldn't expect a national peak in the next coming days. The next few weeks will be tough. And I want to close in saying that I have always pointed out that optimism is not a good public health policy. I urge this board to follow through with the resolution tonight. Please do so. Have a good one.
Hello? Hello,
You're
can you hear
muted.
me?
We can hear you, but Darlene, you're muted.
We can hear it. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I want to second that public comment. I also believe, and I want you to pass that resolution to prevent for Ameren to not do cutoffs. And I also think there shouldn't be evictions either. So if you talk about that, that is a public health issue also. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lee.
Hi, I'm also here to voice support of passing the resolution tonight. No shutoffs from Ameren, and also no evictions during the pandemic as well.
And I don't see any other further public, so we are going to close public participation and move now to our next item of business, which is a presentation by Visit Champaign County. Jane DeLuce is here tonight to talk with you about some of the things they're doing. And Jane, are you? Yeah, there you are.
I am here. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it will. Thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you this evening. I'm trying to get to go to full screen here. So I am Jane DeLuce and with Visit Champaign County. And I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to share our story on how we work for and with the community to be a welcoming place to live, to work, and to visit. So A lot has happened since we introduced our strategic plan in February of 2020. This is Destination 2023. And it happened, of course, right before the pandemic shutdown. What we did figure out is during the pandemic, our vision and our mission have stayed the same, with a continued focus on our community and particularly on our residents. So during the time of the pandemic, and we are working alongside you all at the county, at the cities, the villages, the public health district, and everyone else involved in terms of Champaign County Safe. We have been a major partner along with the EDC and the Chamber of Commerce and others in the strategic communications that have gone out about the efforts to be safe. If you can see there, we have 39,400 views that have been for the website. We've created 60 plus pieces and continue to do those as we work through and have the same messaging so that we are one voice through this time frame. One of the aspects of this is the hospitality industry, which was greatly impacted during and continues to be during the pandemic. So at the time, we focused our efforts, so fall of 2020 to spring of 2021, we wanted to help the frontline employees, either that had been furloughed or cut back hours. And through funds that were raised by individuals, as well as a startup fund through our Visit Champaign County Foundation, we raised $33,000, $365, for 136 hospitality heroes across 53 business around the entire Champaign County area. And I will say that with this fund, the nominations came directly from the business owner or the managers of those businesses. And the stories were heartbreaking and continue to be heartbreaking as well. And we did what we thought we could do as best, because those are our people. Those are the residents that make or break the hospitality industry in our area. We also worked last year during the pandemic through our restaurant week. It was our 5th annual restaurant week, and we did a takeout edition, and there were 26 participating restaurants. The difference last year that we, obviously besides being takeout, was that we were able to offer family style eating for a lot of people, because we found that that was very important for everybody. And it was truly, people in this community stepped up during this time to support our local restaurants. And you can see a quote there from Linda at the Dancing Dog Eatery that talked about, she felt that Restaurant Week really helped her visibility. Restaurant Week is returning starting a week from tomorrow. It will be January 28th to February 5th. It is in person and takeout. And we have over 30 restaurants participating this year. And we're very excited for people to help support, but to also be patient with our restaurants as they deal with staffing shortages, but we're excited to be part of that. Another brand new campaign that will kick off this next month is our business market. So a lot of people, when they think of Visit Champaign County, they think of IHSA state basketball, which I'll talk about in a second, but people don't always think about the weekday traffic business that we bring to the area. Meetings and conferences are a very important part of our area in terms of filling the hotels, the restaurants, retail, and supporting our local businesses. So we are working on a new campaign that is Bring It Home. And the idea is for people like yourselves that are involved in industry associations, that you would look at recommending having your meeting, your conference in our area, and we would help you with the leads to make that happen, whether it was for hotel leads, entertainment leads, however it would work. And we want to create destination champions of people in this area, our residents, who can help us bring home business to Champaign County. A couple examples of conferences that we've brought in or bringing into this area. If you see there, the Illinois Fire Protection Districts, that will be in June of 2022. It is returning after being here this past year. 250 fire protection officials, a conference, a trade show, an estimated impact of $196,000. Also, the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System Conference that will be in March of 2023. And I think this line is very important. It's moving here to Champaign, Urbana, after 15 years in Springfield. With over 500 attendees attending, we anticipate an estimated impact for that particular one of $257,000. You can also see the one next to it with the Medicine Association. This is in partnership with the College of Vet Med. And again, super opportunity to bring that here. That is going to be here in 2023. So also, just a little bit of what we're working on too is the IHSA boys basketball is returning to this area after it was here for 77 years and it left, we call it on hiatus, for 25 years in Peoria, and now bringing it back here for March of 2022. It is the first time with all 4 classes of basketball, so smallest schools to the biggest of schools will be here. It will be thousands of fans and an estimated impact of $4 million per year. So that event is long in the making to bring back to our area. And we're working very hard to make sure that it is a quality but safe experience. With people coming to the tournament, we'll follow the guidelines that are set by the University of Illinois specific to the State Farm Center. We also hosted the Hot Rod Power Tour, and that happened in August 27th this year, also outside of State Farm Center. And that is part of it. This year was a 5-day, 5-city tour. And this is an estimated impact of $810,000 with these hot riders that come to this area. And we emphasize these impact numbers we run through an economic impact calculator that is created by our national association. And the opportunity to bring back this type of event, the Hot Rod Power Tour has been here. This was the 4th time that we've hosted. And the reason I bring that up is because they keep wanting to return to this area because of the hospitality that they do receive when they are here in this area. And then another one coming up in September of 2022 will be the Upper Midwest Convention and Visitor Bureau Conference. We beat out some other larger cities to bring this conference to this area. These are the people that do what I do, what my team does, from 7 states around our area. And we're very excited to be able to be here to showcase our community, to get to experience what we experience and potential tours. As you can see, the Virginia Theater and Prairie Foods Farm and the Japan House. So we think it will be a great opportunity to have 180 or more. We anticipate over 200 participants will be here in September, and very excited to be able to showcase our community as well as raise economic impact during the time that they're here. Probably one that you haven't heard about because so many people are focused on the high school association is brand new to this area. We will be hosting the 2022 Illinois Middle School Basketball Championship. So this is grades 4 through 8. It is the week after the high school tournament, 100 teams, and it will be boys and girls, economic impact of $1.7 million. The majority of the games will be played at the University of Illinois ARC, the Activities and Recreation Center, except for the 7th and 8th grade boys will be playing at Leonard Center because of recruiting. They cannot play at a campus facility. But so this will just be a wonderful way to showcase basketball first at the high school level the week before, and then here at the middle school level for this tournament and what it will be for the opportunity to host it here. Kind of a fun one, I like to say, is TikTok. And so we too have gotten into the TikTok business with sharing stories. And with over 21,000 views across TikTok, people are seeing why Champaign County is a great place to visit. We include highlights to open new business. We've done Plantify, The Literary, Golden Weather Goods, as well as staples like Wooden Hog and other places around the county. You can also see the ones here from the Hot Rod Power Tour, Museum of the Grand Prairie, and of course, I had to include there the sunflower field. That got a huge amount of people following the sunflower field, as well as the Japan House. So it's definitely a way to continue telling the story and engaging people in ways that they may not have otherwise engaged with finding out why our area is such a great destination. Also this year, last year, our experience guide was digital only. And so we were not able to print it because of, not only for COVID, but for major budget cuts, because for those that don't recognize, we have over 60% of our budget is funded by hotel tax revenues, either at the state hotel tax revenues or local hotel tax revenues for the city of Champaign. So we lost a lot of funding this past year, so everything was digital. So this year we've been able to print the experience guide, and we find that we've traded it for not being a visitor guide, but more of an experience guide. So residents can use it as an opportunity for areas of interest as well. We've also printed the new maps. There's 40,000 of the guides and 20,000 of the maps that focus on attractions around the entire Champaign County area. We're also having a social campaign that we're seeking community input. So we want your places, your spaces, our community to be featured in future marketing campaigns. So think about ways that you've gone to places that you might feel are the best places to go. We will select up to 8 winners who submit photos, and a professional photo shoot will be for all the winners and in their favorite space. And we're very excited to be able to have that campaign and really focus on what residents think are a great place about our destination. Also, a new program that just kicked off in August is the Chambana Welcome Cruise. So it's a new community ambassador program. And it's about really, the idea is to create, but also retain residents to this area. We're working with the Economic Development Corporation and the University of Illinois Dual Career Program, as well as other agencies. And this idea is pairing ambassadors with potential or new residents. We started with 12 community ambassadors for the initial launch. We have 30 ambassadors, so far 12 recruits. I think there's a few more this week that have been placed with ambassadors. And the idea is for if you move to a new community, and you want to talk to somebody, maybe you don't want to talk to someone at your job, but would like to talk to somebody maybe a little bit more like-minded or in the stage of life that you're in, we'll pair you with one of these trained ambassadors to talk with you about ways to really become, feel like it's a welcoming atmosphere and feel like that you're belonging. Then the most, I think, impactful way that we are working with a community committee of about 30 people is creating the Champaign County African American Heritage Trail. So you can see the mission statement there. This is a celebration about the contributions of African Americans in the Champaign County area. Our idea with this vision is to inspire conversation, to expand understanding, and to contribute to a better society. Our important goal for this is that it will be free and accessible experience for visitors and all community members. As I mentioned, it is about 30 people that are involved. It is co-chaired by Angela Rivers and Barbara Suggs Mason, who are absolutely amazing. But there are people representing everything from the libraries and archivists, from the museums, from the university, from the park districts, a lot of different ways. So if you think about heritage trails that you have gone to or experienced in other communities, the idea with this is that you will be able to have an interactive experience, whether it is online through a new website, whether it is through interpretive signs that will be throughout the entire county area. And it will also be an education curriculum that we're working with both Champaign and Urbana schools, as well as Rantoul, and we'll look at other schools around the area as well to become part of the curriculum. The idea with this is truly to educate today's residents and visitors about the rich cultural history of the people whose stories have been largely unrecognized, but directly shape the place that we call home. And finally, I just want to recognize our team and our board, as well as our foundation board. I would like to thank Jacob Paul for serving as the Champaign County Board representative on our VCC board. This group here are truly the ambassadors that work with groups of all over the county in terms of really making our area a destination that is welcoming for all. So I appreciate the opportunity. I will stop sharing there. And I do want to just thank you for being a partner with the efforts that we do for Visit Champaign County. And I'm happy if Darlene, you let me know if I can answer any questions or any comments. But thank you for this opportunity to really talk with you all. I do know that we've shared the annual report and we continue to share the quarterly reports. And our door is always open if you have ideas for ways that we can be better for our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, Jane. Does anyone have a specific question for Jane while she's here? Mr. Esri.
Yes, thank you, Darlene. Jane, I realize this may put you on the spot, the question I have, but first off, thank you for the presentation and for all the work that you do there with bringing people and the money and just into the county and sharing the experience of what is Champaign County. And I'll also just say thank you, Mr. Goss and the Atkins group for the sunflower field. But where I may put you on the spot a little bit, this past weekend was the second year of the Midwest Winter Nationals Truck and Tractor Pull being held in Shipshewana, Indiana, instead of here in this county at Gordyville. With the state locking down, they found a location elsewhere that was open and willing to have them and willing to take the money that was generated. Do you by chance have a rough idea as to how much that event brought into the county each year when it was held here at Gordyville? And if you don't, I realize, like I said, I may be kind of putting you on the spot asking for a number like that. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment with that. And you are correct. We have lost business. We do follow the restrictions, obviously, in this area, but that has resulted in lost business on a variety of levels, both with meetings, with events, with conferences across the board. I don't know specifically on that event, but I will be happy to reach out to Jody and the folks at Gordyville to talk to them about that and the attendance. And I'm not sure if we've run that through our economic impact calculator, but I will be happy to do that and follow up with you on what that amount is. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Just want to first say to Jane, this was easily the highlight of my week. So thank you so much for your presentation. That was delightful. I also just wanted to add, as a Hoosier native who grew up in Northwest Indiana, Shipshewana has its own draw. They are a kind of the epicenter of Amish workmanship, like I'm trying to think of how the word that I want to say, not a shopping center, but booths set up everywhere. I mean, it's really, it has its own draw. It is unique from Champaign County. I don't think you could reduce it just to our COVID restrictions. It truly has its own unique thumbprint that it has in the Midwest. So I just want to add that. And thank you so much, Jane, for your presentation.
Okay. Thanks again, Jane. Appreciate you coming. And we appreciate the work. And I would just like to add my specific thanks for the work you have done during the past 2 years to help keep our businesses informed about what the consistent rules are that we're trying to enforce between the counties, the cities. Everybody's on the same page. And I've really appreciated the partnership of Visit Champaign County in helping with get that word out and keep people informed. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to spend time with you all this evening. Hope you have a good rest of the meeting. Thanks.
Okay. And next we have our first item of business, which is the consent agenda. Would the clerk call the roll, please? If I can get a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can I get a motion from Mr. Williams?
Actually, I am not quite ready. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Ms. King?
I so moved then?
Yeah, we're just doing a motion.
Okay.
Can I get a second? Ms. Michaels?
Yes, ma'am. Second, please.
Thank you. Okay. I guess if there's does anybody need to remove anything from the consent agenda? Ms. Carter, I see your hand is raised. No? Okay.
You tell me to raise my hand and then you still overlook me. So I just didn't understand where. Okay, thanks.
Okay, we're just needing a motion and a second. So, okay, will the clerk call the roll, please, for approval of the consent agenda?
Porcelain,
Yes.
Bennett Steenrod,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lakshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua, Paul,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next is communication. We do have a written communication from the village of Thomasboro who wanted to be considered for an ARPA request. Does any other member of the board have communication regarding business for the board? Mr. Goss.
Thank you. This is just a quick plea for the clerk's office. I've been approached by a number of potential candidates that would like to see printable PDFs of each district's boundaries, because there is not anything, not everybody can print from the GIS system at all. And so it's really tough for candidates to see the boundaries of these new districts. So that's a plea out for the county clerk's office to put something out there like we've had in the past on PDF for each individual district. And that's coming from people out in the public.
Okay. Anything else? All right, moving along. We're down to approval of minutes. Can the executive have a motion to approve the minutes for July 17th? December. I have a lot of different dates here. Sorry. I guess we just need December. For December 16th, 2021, the regular meeting of 2021. Ms. Taylor.
So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Lakshin.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Porcelain,
Yes.
Bennett Steenrod,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lakshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua, Paul,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have item 12, standing committees. The summary of action for the county facilities meeting on January the 7th, 2022. The Environment and Land Use Committee, January 6th, 2022. And Highway and Transportation Committee, January 7th, 2022, are received and placed on file. Then we're down to areas of responsibility. The summary of action taken January 11th, 2022 at the Committee of the Whole is received and placed on file. And now we're down to item A, which is, would the policy chair like to make the committee's recommendation regarding item A to put it on the table for discussion?
Sure. Excuse me, I'm fighting the cat for control of the agenda. Adoption of resolution 2021-11 declaring continued utility disconnect. Let me get that's, let me make sure I've got the correct title here. Resolution for granting authority to no.
You want some help, Chris?
No, I have a Word document that I can get, but the cat can't. A resolution declaring continued utility disconnections in Illinois to be a pandemic safety risk.
Thank you. Second, please. I need a second, please. Ms. Lockshin?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, the table is open for discussion now. So I think there was somebody wanted to propose an amendment to this or a revised version. Mr. Williams?
I'd like to amend the resolution to reflect what was emailed out to everybody. And
Okay.
I believe I need to read the whole thing, right?
You don't need to read the whole thing. I have a copy and it was distributed as a handout, I believe, to the board. So we will have a copy and give it to the clerk.
Okay.
If there's any questions, we should answer those if people have questions about what it says. Mr. McGuire?
I don't have a handout and I don't have an email. I haven't seen it. Any
So
changes?
you didn't get it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't received anything, and I'm not clear on what this resolution was and why we voted on it in the first place when we didn't understand what we were passing. Thank you.
Okay, so at the last meeting, the board, or at the committee of the whole, the board voted to approve the proposal as it was presented with the understanding that when it got to this committee, they would have some amendments they wanted to make. So that's the place we're at now. And I think the board
I thought that
should
my
have
comment-
received, I'm sorry, you didn't get the handout. It was posted.
Well, it wasn't clear before that we actually had something on the resolution to really vote to pass. So I think we violated our rules when we passed it at the cow. And now we're doing that again because we're receiving amendments to the rule at the last second. So public can't comment.
Okay. Ms. Furtado?
So just for clarification, I'd be glad to read it if somebody needs to read it. But just for clarification, it went out to the full board as an attachment on Tuesday from Mary at 11 something in the morning. So if you didn't receive it, then for some reason your email is in her full board email, because you could see that it went to the full board listserv. Secondly, any amendment, any resolution at any time under Robert's Rules of Order can be amended from the floor. So I do think maybe we should just read it, and I'd be glad to if that would make people feel more comfortable. But any amendment text can be amended on any amendment.
I have it up. I can share it on the screen if that would help.
That would be helpful, Mr. Williams.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me just be clear, like the sending it out ahead of time was just a courtesy in order to expedite the process, but was not a required necessity by any Robert's Rules of Order or public meeting rules.
Okay. I think some other people had hands up earlier. Did you get clarified what you needed to? Or does someone else want to raise their hand again?
No, I just wanted to point out also that it was sent on the 18th to the full board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Patterson?
I just want to second the idea that I think it should absolutely be read aloud for the record and for the public.
Yep, that's fine. We can do that. So here it is. Go ahead and read, Mr. Williams.
A resolution declaring continued utility disconnections in Illinois to be a pandemic safety risk. Whereas a new and significant outbreak of coronavirus 2019, COVID-19, a novel severe acute respiratory illness that can spread among people through respiratory transmission, emerged in late 2019. And Whereas on January 30th, 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak of COVID-19 to be a public health emergency and declared it a worldwide pandemic on March 11th, 2020. And whereas on January 31st, 2020, the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary declared a public health emergency for the United States. And whereas the governor of the state of Illinois issued a gubernatorial disaster proclamation declaring all counties in the state of Illinois to be a disaster area on March 9th, 2020. And whereas on March 13th, 2020, the President of the United States declared a national emergency concerning the COVID-19 virus. And whereas on March 20th, 2020, the governor of the state of Illinois issued Executive Order 2020-10 entitled Executive Order in Response to COVID-19 and has issued additional executive orders regarding the COVID-19 public health emergency since that date. And whereas the issue and reissue gubernatorial disaster proclamations since March 9th, 2020 continue to authorize all of the emergency powers provided in Section 7 of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act 20 ILCS 3305 in all counties of Illinois, and whereas the governor of Illinois has the authority from 20 ILCS 3305 7 subsection 12 to issue executive orders to restore the utility service at occupied households and enact a mandatory moratorium without means testing on utility disconnections and evictions from all providers. And whereas restricting access to utilities and housing based on the ability to pay hinders the public efforts in regards to other priorities, including COVID-19 containment and tracing. And whereas the data on vaccinations as of January 11th, 2022 shows that 60.35% of all Champaign County residents have been fully vaccinated, in addition to a substantial number of college students who were vaccinated at their parents' address, according to the Illinois Department of Health. Whereas the financial impact of the pandemic has disproportionately fallen on communities of color. Whereas in program year 2022, 138 of 4,047 LIHEAP applications received to date have been denied, 3.4% in Champaign County, and that the Regional Planning Commission staff refer those whose applications are rejected and referred to other helping sources, and that these organizations are under financial strain. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Champaign County by the County Board of Champaign County as follows. Section 1, that there is a public health emergency caused by the contagious COVID-19 virus. Section 2, the public health emergency is related to the COVID-19 virus, which is causing or anticipated to cause widespread impacts on the physical, mental, emotional, and financial health of members of the community. Section 3, the county board declares the disconnection of utility service or eviction for failure to pay for such service, including utilities and heating, propane delivery, or rent, constitutes a pandemic safety risk. Section 4, the county board calls on the Illinois governor to use existing and continued authorizations of 20 ILCS 3305, Section 7, subsection 12, to enact a moratorium on utility disconnections and evictions without means testing, and to restore disconnected utility service for occupied households. Section 5, the county board calls on Congress to pass the Maintaining Access to Essential Services Act of 2021, House Resolution 4979, S.1783, presented, passed, approved, and recorded this 20th day of January, 2022.
I second that
Okay,
amendment.
thank you. Mr. Patterson, did you want to say something?
I second that amendment.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Ms. Fenichia-Darnot.
Could I move to correct the statement where it says refer twice for the LIHEAP denials of service? If you scroll up just a little bit where LIHEAP is mentioned. So you have Planning Commission staff refer those whose applications are rejected are referred to. I would just take out the refer those whose applications are rejected to and just take out the are referred part because it seems clumsy and redundant there.
You want to take that as a friendly amendment, Wayne?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and who seconded?
I believe Kyle did.
Yeah, I think Kyle, you did. So is that a friendly amendment to make that wording change there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So we're taking out the refer those whose applications are rejected and just deleting that, those 5
No,
words.
just take out the are referred.
Oh, take out the are referred, those 2
Yeah.
words.
So
Okay.
it just says staff refer those whose applications are rejected to other helping sources.
Okay. All right. Did you get that, Matt?
Yeah, I'll need the full text anyway, so
Okay. Yeah, we're just taking out those 2 words. I'll send it over.
thank you.
Yep. Okay, so are we ready to vote on the amendment, which is to substitute this version for the previous version? Ms. Furtado?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Chris Storr, who really worked hard on trimming down the version.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Ms. Michaels?
You're referring to the amendment that Ms. Vanasierto just talked about?
Yes. So what we're saying is we're voting on whether to substitute this version, what was read tonight, for the version that was adopted at the committee of the whole, that they forwarded it on to this committee, which was longer and had more parts to it.
Well, I do have a question then. I wanted to speak to what the issue was. On the previous one, it said that until we have herd immunity, and this has no end to it now. It's kind of open-ended. There is no period that says when this will not be effective anymore. Is that correct? You know what I'm saying? Before it kind of said, okay, this will happen until a certain period. And now it just said this will happen. There's no period given as to how long this will take place, like till the weather changes or in the spring or when the governor up, you know, there's nothing that ties it to a closing period. Or when something changes, this will no longer be in effect. And I just had a question about that.
Mr. Storr?
Thank you. This is an advisory resolution and not a drafted piece of legislation. And it just intended to call attention to a particular condition and the board's wishing to bring this to the attention of the governor. Back to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we're going to vote on substituting this amendment, the amended document, with the small change to the eliminating those 2 words for the other original document. So we need the clerk to call the roll, please.
Horstman.
Yes.
Bennett Stiernock.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolkin.
No.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Esri.
No.
Furtado.
No.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
No.
Harper.
No.
King.
Yes.
Lockshin. King.
Yes.
Yes.
McGuire.
No.
Michaels.
No.
Passalacqua. Paul.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Summers.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Now we're going to go back to approving this as a resolution the board would like to approve. So we have to take roll call again, please.
Is there a discussion about the,
Yeah, we can discuss it if you want. If you have something else to say, Mr. McGuire, you can say it. Yes.
I do have something to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I think I made the point before, maybe not so clearly, that I don't think that the county board should create resolutions and sign the county's name to a resolution that is nothing more than a partisan progressive political agenda to promote this. That obviously COVID is a hazard or a problem, especially for people that may not be able to pay their rent or utilities, even though we have programs that they could, if they meet income levels, get some help. But I don't understand how not being able to pay your rent or this resolution will fix the problem of COVID, or how not paying your rent is a health hazard for the community or the state. So I'll be obviously voting no for this. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez.
Man, y'all really eat your young. I just want to commend Jacob Paul for the work that he's done on this. I can remember when he showed up at our caucus meeting at the tail end of it to suggest or to ask, where are we? On this particular, like he's fought for this from day one. He purely on the basis that he heard from his constituents. This is an example of a member of the county board listening to his constituents and being responsive. I'm a little shocked to see the response from Republicans in this way, to cast this as a partisan and divisive thing. In my mind, this is a prime example of what we should be doing, being responsive to our constituents. So I'm a little shocked. That's all. I'm happy to support this amendment and this resolution.
Okay, Mr. Patterson.
I just want to acknowledge that this is a resolution that is urging both the governor and Congress to take an action, obviously tonight. With the exception of Mr. Paul, this was exclusively supported by Democrats. The governor is a Democrat. Congress is controlled by Democrats. So to call people getting their utilities disconnected or evicted political partisanship was a really just a kind of unfortunate thing to say. And, for my job, I go to eviction court every Monday since August to try to help connect people to assistance. So I encourage any of you to, if you have that opportunity, to check that out and see what it's really like, to see the faces of people who don't know where them and their kids are going to sleep. So I just think it's absolutely disappointing to hear you accuse this of being political and partisan. That's just unacceptable.
Mr. Thorsland.
Yeah, I'd like to echo everything Kyle just said, and also echo Emily's statement that, yeah, you really do eat your young, don't you? Because I think that so well puts it. I really appreciate Jacob Paul for working with this and working with Chris and the constituents and actually representing what people in his district are interested in. I used to live in that district. I know that the stratification there is more economic than it is by race, but there's definitely a broad spectrum of people out there in District 1, and this kind of thing, if we can raise awareness, will help. I also find it incredible to think that during a pandemic, getting evicted isn't a health problem. Really, Mr. McGuire, really. Let's remember that we have this wonderful opportunity to do things like this because we're elected officials who represent other people. Let's remember that we discuss in these meetings since the beginning, almost a year ago, of our ability to distribute money that was very partisanly voted for, to do all kinds of things. Remember, only Democrats
voted for the ARPA funds for the infrastructure bill. But Republicans endlessly are already taking credit for things that happen. We have people that went to Washington, D.C. to try to overturn the legal, legitimate election who now come to us with their handout for money from the ARPA funds. I find this absolutely astounding. So remember, the first people that contacted us when we got the ARPA money was the Farm Bureau. I know the rural residents in this county. I drive past their houses. Some still have your support displayed for the previous president or for the Republican Party. You want to make this all partisan. We are doing our best as a democratically run board at the moment to help everybody in Champaign County. And you just showed again why the Democrat majority always rises above partisanship and does what's right for all the people in the county. And thank you again, Jacob, for voting on this.
Mr. Goss.
Well said, Thorslin. Well said, Thorslin.
Mr. Goss, please.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to say why I'm not supporting it has nothing to do with partisanship. My fear and my belief from, you all know I wasn't here last week. I went back when they finally posted the video yesterday and watched this. My fear is that there are a whole bunch of these disadvantaged people that think this is actually going to do some good. I don't think it's going to do any good because it's advisory in nature. You send it off to the governor. The governor's had the ability to do this all along. He could have done this. He's done everything else and subverted the lawmakers. Why not do this? Because he really doesn't care. So why is us sending a resolution from a county board in Champaign County going to make a difference with our governor? He's had the ability to do it before. He's chosen not to do it. I have no issue with it other than you've put this belief in some people's heads that this is going to automatically happen. There are bunches of people out there, bunches of constituency that think when we say something, it automatically happens. Unfortunately, it just doesn't. And so you've put this idea in their head that this is going to be immediate, and we just all know it isn't. So your governor.
Mr. Esri.
Thank you. The idea that I don't represent my constituents is pure bull. You're above partisanship, but yet you call it out by the Democrats and the Republicans. What are you doing there? That is dividing it into partisanship. So yeah, the idea that you're above it, that's pure bull too. I represent my constituents. My constituents are not your constituents in terms of districts on the board, not everybody's. So the idea that I don't represent my constituents, I take offense at that. You don't know my constituents. I don't know your constituents in terms of your districts, but I represent my constituents. So for someone to say that I don't is pure, unadulterated bull.
Mr. Paul.
I want to say that there's 109 people in Mahomet right now in Candlewood who are facing no water. Every single one of them is Republican. It's not, and this could be an opportunity as Republicans to embrace hand in hand, holding our governor accountable, who is a Democrat. They very well could have just said no and gone with their party. I think Jim Goss is right that we should do more now, that maybe find a way for our own moratorium so we can help those people. And I want to say, thanks for getting it this far, and hopefully we can help some people, and hopefully if more Democrats hold their party accountable we could have less problems. And this is a step in that direction. And it's shameful that as Republicans, we have an opportunity to protect our own and others from policies that we don't agree with, and people in leadership that we so quickly point the finger at. And this could have been a time to really help insulate that and show the strength of the Republican Party. And I think we're doing a poor job of that through this meeting. And I hope we all vote yes on this. Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Thanks. I think I simply just wanted to comment as somebody who is also a young person on the Democratic side. We've seen a pivot between two different factions here, it seems, and I've witnessed it on my own side, but on the Republican side, of a pivot from the theatrical to the practical. Again, I just want to underline here, what Jacob Paul is recommending here is not theatrical or anything outrageous. He's hearing from his constituents and he is voicing what they say. That is not a radical concept. I would recommend it on both sides of the aisle, actually. What you hear from your constituents is your evidence, and that's what you need to act on. Again, I'm taking this offense as somebody who is also younger on the other side of the aisle. It makes me sad to see him not supported in that way. That's all.
Ms. Carter?
JP for the win. I am definitely backing everyone with this. I'm definitely voting for it. While out getting signatures for my petition, we ran across in my district, just as well as yours, Jacob Paul, that are real people. Okay, we're going to say colorless because they were all different shades, all different ethnic backgrounds, that are facing real issues of foreclosure, eviction, and utilities being cut off. So I don't know, the privilege, they don't have people in their district that have hit hardship because of COVID-19. But I'm definitely going to vote yes for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lokshin.
I just also want to thank Dr. Storr and Mr. Paul for the work that they put into redrafting this, along with the others who put in the time and effort on that. Also wanted to remind everybody that, yes, this is not a immediate action. This is a recommendation from the board, but we also as a board have voted to alleviate utility bills for some people so far in the form of voting on funding for the Urbana and Champaign Sanitary District to assist with past due sewer bills. And we can continue to affect real action with the ARPA funds that we have. So let's work together as a board to keep looking for opportunities like this to make real change in our county with the money that we have. Thank you.
Mr. Storr.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to Jacob Paul for bringing us to the cow early on. It was he went to a lot of trouble when it didn't get to keep bringing it, when it kind of got fumbled. And Mr. Wayne Williams, who contributed to the resolution as we are preparing to vote on it. And I disagree with some of the other board members in the sense that it is proper for our county government to recognize community needs, even if they're not in our jurisdiction, and call this and bring this level of awareness and urgency to those who do have jurisdiction and authority and the means to deal with this. And I'm glad to support the resolution that Jacob initially drafted and Wayne so elegantly edited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Williams.
I hear the cause that this is advisory and that we should be doing more. And I would just like to direct people's attention, later on in our packet, there is an agreement here between the county and the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District that goes a step in the direction of preventing some of these utility shutoffs by providing to help people. As far as this being non-binding, is it proper for it to be in resolution form? Should we be voting on a proclamation? I don't really have strong feelings about that, but I do think it's important to express our values as a board through resolutions like this. I don't think it's, well, no, it is partisan. It's bipartisan because this was not even brought by a member of the Democratic Party. It certainly doesn't go as far as, I think, if it were just a Democratic resolution, it doesn't go as far as I think it should, but it is something to show people that we hear them. So I'll be voting yes.
Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. I just kind of want to ditto what Wayne just said, but also first I want to thank Wayne also, as well as Dr. Storer and Mr. Paul for their work on this. Nobody, I don't think, has mentioned Wayne's contribution so far, so thank you. Mr. Goss is right. And, as well as a lot of other people, this is not binding. It's not effective. It doesn't actually do anything. But as a board, we should be passing this to let legislative bodies above ours know that this is something that needs to be looked at. This is something that needs to be worked on. It's not our fault if the local activists who brought this before us told people to expect something different, that this was going to alleviate their problems tomorrow, anything like that. We can't help that, but we can make it stand and say that this is important to us and this is important to our constituents, and we need to protect our people. Thank you.
Okay, I think I've seen all the hands. So are we ready to vote? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Dorsland.
Yes.
Bennett Stierna.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolken.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Esri.
No.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
No.
Harper.
No.
King.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
McGuire.
No.
Michaels.
Yes.
Passalacqua. Paul.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Absolutely.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Summers.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We are now down to new business. We are on item A. Can the executive get a motion for adoption of resolution number 2022-12, granting authority to execute real estate documents for the purchase of real property? Ms. Benich Theranot.
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Summers.
I will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Goss.
Yes, this is something that I did hear from several constituents soon as it hit the newspaper. many of whom have looked at purchasing that building. And their question to me was, what in the world is the county doing spending taxpayer money on that building when it's in such disrepair? They can't understand why the county, they understand the location's fantastic. They understand why that it is good for the city of Urbana. They don't understand why it's good for the taxpayers of Champaign County. So I will not, again, I will say that I think it's unwise. I know it's going to pass. It won't pass with my vote either way, so I'm not going to support it.
Okay, Mr. Williams?
I hear what Mr. Goss is saying. This one is particularly difficult for me. But I would like to point to something that Executive Kleppel wrote. And this is what is driving me to vote for this. She writes, the county plaza property has had mostly unleased office space for several years since the vacating of a large tenant. Purchasing, renovating, and locating the county's 400 plus workforce downtown, she means downtown Urbana, will revitalize Urbana's downtown economic activity, a goal of the recent American Rescue Plan Act, and would assist nearby struggling small businesses in Urbana's downtown TIF district. I think that that this purchase and the subsequent movement of county employees is a great first step in that. I hope that it is that we move forward with vacating the downtown jail and demolishing and getting that parcel privately developed. I do wish there had been some more planning. And that's what concerns me with this. But I think that Executive Kleppel and that last paragraph of her memo to us really hit the nail for me.
Mr. Paul?
Everything's a good idea on paper. Right now, inflation's at 6%, real inflation's at 17%. I just got a letter from my suppliers saying that we're looking between a 9 and 20% increase on materials. That's if you can find them. There's been a TPO shortage, which is industrial roofing. Now, I think coming up 4.5 months where nobody can find anything. I think that we could be putting ourselves in a real money pit situation, especially if we intend on still making the repairs to Brookins. I don't think it's in the best move of the county. Maybe if we could somehow find a way to sell some of our excess properties now, to make it where we can then build out if we have to. But I don't think right now that this is a good idea. Also, Busey Bank is in downtown Urbana. And, if they're the ones holding the loan on this, and if they're going to be seeing the benefit of more people downtown as well, that I think, maybe we should try to do more for them to do more as well. But it will be a no from me.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you. I see that we have the benefit of having the county treasurer in our meeting tonight. So I wanted to know, I don't believe that we've heard from her feedback on these plans, and she would ideally be a beneficiary. So I just want to know if she had been asked, if she had any feedback on these plans, if she's so willing.
CJ?
Sure, I'm here, and that's fine. So I know that obviously I've heard wind of like a new building and things like that or whatever. And I'll admit that like my biggest concern with this is, again, not having discussed or had conversations about, okay, we're moving to a new building. What are your needs? What are you going to require and things like that? And I do recognize that like we have a facilities person who probably has some background knowledge of what has been required in the past. What bugs me at this point is that, as with some of the other things that have been kind of pushed forward or whatever, it seems like it tends to benefit one office versus the collective. At the end of the day, I mean, is the position or is the location fine? Sure. Do I believe that there will be a way to kind of invent things to make sure that each office has the things that there are required for making sure they're as successful as possible? Sure. But I think one of my biggest concerns with this entire push is the lack of effective communication with the stakeholders that are going to be most impacted by these types of moves. And I don't know, again, I've only been in the office for a year, so maybe these conversations have taken place and they just weren't brought to my attention because of me being so new. But I do believe that if you're going to actually implement some form of change, you do need to ensure that your stakeholders are going to be able to effectively take care of the constituents that you want them to take care of. So that's my biggest concern with this. And again, it's not intended in any way to make anyone feel bad or do anything like that. It's simply to state my opinion on the fact that there needs to be more dialogue with those impacted when we make these decisions at a county level.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would just like to say, CJ, that there has been no decisions about any offices moving anywhere except the sheriff at this point. Stephanie?
Yeah, I guess what I want to say is that, I mean, just to be perfectly transparent, during my time on the board, this particular decision is probably one of the hardest ones for me. For a couple of reasons. I just want to be clear, like, if we do this, this is what the board is doing. Like, and I don't mean this board, I mean the board, the county for the next 20 years. This is a major financial commitment. Second, the thing that weighs on me a lot is, and I don't get the sense that a lot of people on the board have done this, but I've been very involved in construction restoration projects of old buildings. Like I've done that. I've been on the ground for that. And it's, I mean, it's just a nightmare. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. So I think that going into this project, like if this is an easy vote for anybody on the board, then I really don't, I sincerely question how much you're paying attention to your role on the board. This should be a really difficult decision that you've thought a lot about, because it is like, we are not making a decision for this board. We are making a financial decision for the next 5 boards. Do you know what I'm saying? Or 10 boards, depending on how you think about the election. So like, it really should be a heavy decision that you've thought a lot about. I do think that for me, when I've wrestled with this, and why I've come down and why I think I'm going to vote yes, is because I don't see a viable alternative, a viable financial alternative, in that it is clear to me that we do not have the adequate space for the sheriff's office, the clerk's office, and the public defender's office. And trying to come up with a solution for that space without going to referendum. And I don't know that I think in this particular moment that would be a successful financial strategy. I don't know that I see a path forward. And doing nothing is not an option. But I also really hesitate to make a decision based on that the alternative of doing nothing is not an option. I think the location is fantastic, but it does give me like a deep amount of pause, the level of work that it would take to get it up, particularly around issues like accessibility. And I do want to echo, and I understand it's like hard to build a house that you're living in, but like there should have been, and there needs to be a comprehensive space study that involves all of the elected officials. And like, frankly, that should have kicked off as soon as this became an option. Because I do think to some degree we're purchasing a solution and we're not sure the entirety of the solution. That said, I know I talked a lot negatively about it. I do think that voting yes makes sense because I'm not sure what the better option is. But I also worry because a lot of times I think a lot about what the heck were previous boards thinking, like all the time. I think like, how did they make the decisions that they made? And I really do am conscious of, is like in 10 years, people are going to be saying that about us.
Mr. Summers?
Thank you. I will be voting in favor of this. It will address the space needs for county government as we are looking at the county currently. And I believe will also address space needs even farther out. The cost is high, but it's commensurate to the estimates we had for a new build for our sheriff's office. And we have the added bonus of also fixing our space needs for multiple other offices. I understand how some people may be uncomfortable with some lack of discussion in terms of utilization, but honestly, it's very hard to have discussions about utilization of something that you don't own. I hope this motion passes. If it does, I plan on proposing that the board form an ad hoc committee to discuss utilization of office space at County Plaza. And at that point, we would rope in shareholders such as the treasurer and other countywides and office supervisors to determine best utilization practices. Thank you.
Ms. Carter?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like lost with this because, you know, I hear all the concerns, but I definitely want to echo JP and the treasurer. I think it's going to be a no for me tonight. There's too many questions, and I just think the best choice is just going to be to add on to the existing property and build over at Brookings. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Ms. Furtado, did you have something else?
No, sorry, I just am incapable of lowering my hand. I am, just to be clear, I am going to vote yes. I just wanted to say what I just felt like that needed to be said.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I think we're ready to take the vote. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Horstman.
Reluctantly, yes.
Benish Thuranoff.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Vulcan.
Yes.
No.
Carter.
No.
Cowart.
Yes.
Esri.
No.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
No.
Harper.
Yes.
That was a yes.
Mr. Harper, we can't hear you. You're muted, Stan.
Just a minute. He's
Hey,
having some
okay.
technical. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I am a yes. Sorry about
Thank
that,
you.
folks.
King.
Yes.
Lakshin.
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes, and I apologize. My internet's been going in and out.
Pasalakwa, Paul,
No.
Rodriguez,
Yes, and Stan Harper successfully woke up my 15-year-old cat. So thank you to him.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Can the executive get a motion for adoption of resolution number 2022-10, authorizing payment of claims? Mr. Thorsland.
Yes, motion. Sorry.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Thorsland,
Yes.
Finisterra,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Coer,
Yes.
Esri,
No.
Furtado,
Yes.
Esri, Goss,
No.
Harper,
No.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
No.
Michaels,
Yes.
Pasalakwa, Paul, Paul, Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on now to the discussion items. We have our update on ARPA projects.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Mr. Summers?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe this is the appropriate time. I would like to propose that the board form an ad hoc committee to discuss utilization of office space at County Plaza. Not proposing action at this time. I would like to suggest that we vote on this in February.
Okay, that's information. Okay, we're having an update on ARPA projects now. I think you got a couple of pieces of information in your packet about the two-factor authentication. I wanted to mention that to everybody in case there's big objections because the board didn't specifically talk about that project. If there's any specific objections, I'd like to hear them now. We have funding allocated for that, but it wasn't anything that wasn't a specific project, I bring back to you. Okay, looks like that's okay. The grant writer is not ARPA funding actually, but it's going to help with the leverage for ARPA funding. Did you want to say something, Chris?
I'm sorry, you said we need two-factor authentication for what now?
The county IT. This is multi-factor authentication for county IT because we have so many people working remotely now and also doing applications remotely and things like that, which we've just increased hugely. We need a better way to secure our system. Mr. Williams, is your hand raised?
It is. You're confident that we can absorb the annual maintenance costs after the initial outlay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, the grant writer is not actually coming from ARPA funds. The board allocated funding through the county board's budget for that purpose. And so the ad has gone out this week to try to look for a part-time person to do that. I'm actually thinking this might occur in a couple of different ways. So as we know, there are some consultants, especially our broadband consultant in particular, that do grant writing for the federal grants related to broadband. So they might be the best option for us doing some of those kinds of grants. But we are looking also for people that can help with things like the permeable pavement or, the other kinds of things that we might want done. So it won't be a permanent position. It's not a full-time position, but whatever money is allocated for that, I'll try to work that to be able to get the best bang for our buck out of that with potential grant writing possibilities. So if you know anybody that's a grant writer that would like some extra work, or working, and also they could potentially work from home as this is a pretty good remote working opportunity. I'd be happy to talk to them. Bill, do you want to talk about premium pay?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, everybody. This is Bill Colebrook. Good evening, members of the county board. Just as a recap, as a board, you guys authorized a portion of the ARPA funding that came to the county to go to county employees for premium pay. What we did was we applied the guidance given to us by the federal government, and then further, applied the guidance that was given to us by the board. The guidance by the feds was specific in that, for example, the money was to be paid to employees that made equal to a wage that was 150% of the median wage of either the county or the state, whichever was higher. So we applied that wage. In addition, the county board gave us guidance that said that more money was going to be given to 24/7 employees as opposed to the regular employees. I did various calculations, about 6 or 7 of them, basically what if, giving a different amount of money to the 24/7, different amount of money to the full-time, regular employees. We even had initially included, temporary employees. So we boiled that down to basically, full-time employees with 24/7 getting 3,000, and then the other employees getting 500. We've had to work in the fringe cost of these because this is considered a salary. So I've had to include the cost of the fringes. I've worked with all the departments, and the payments, of course, are going to their employees. So we literally looked at every single employee in their department and applied these criteria just to ensure that the employees that I had on the list were still eligible for the payments. In the end, payments are going to go to about 530 employees. This does include RPC. About 323 of those employees are general county. About 207 are RPC, including the 530. The limit that was given to us by the board was 750,000. At the moment, we are approaching that. It's kind of a nebulous figure because we can do the math of we have X amount of employees making one amount, X amount of employees are going to get paid another amount. The nebulous amount is the fringes. It's a little bit difficult to exactly calculate the fringes, but we've got a pretty good calculation to give us an estimate. So we're at about 736,000 now, which is just a little bit under that cap of 750,000. We are working through putting those eligible employees into Kronos as a batch, and we haven't obviously hit the apply or send button just yet. But I expect the entries to be completed by either late tomorrow or early Monday, so we can then look at a what if, on a report, just to make sure that that everything is in alignment. But just want to let the board know that the premium payments are happening, and I appreciate the guidance that was given to us by the board. And if there's any further questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Mr. Summers.
Bill, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for your work. I know it was not a terribly easy project that went through several different transitions, and I am delighted to hear that we are as close as we are to being able to pull the trigger on this. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Ms. Furtado.
I wanted to echo that. Thanks. I know this was a lot of work and I appreciate the labor that went into it. And I didn't know, I saw that the county treasurer had her hand raised. I didn't know if she had information or a comment to add to this conversation. I'd like to hear it if she did.
Okay. CJ, do you have something to add?
Sure. So, and again, I'm 100% all with the way that this actually worked out, because I do feel like those 24/7 individuals definitely need to be compensated appropriately because they're having to do this all day, every day. The only thing that I wanted to weigh in on is the fact that while there were instances of like the main issue that I have is that when it comes to volume and number of individuals interacting with a very relatively small staff, the treasurer's office ends up having to have contact with way more individuals because of collection cycle and things like that. And I want to make sure that that is something that is also being considered when we determine premium pay, because that exposure, and as you guys know, has caused to a couple of closures in my office because of us having a relatively small staff that's impacting or interacting with thousands of individuals on the regular.
Okay, Stephanie, your hand is still raised.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to say this to Treasurer. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I hope everybody at the county knows that how we came up with the formula was not an easy decision. In fact, it was like literally hours of conversation, and it's very possible that we didn't get it perfect. We did try to get something to everyone that was allowable under the law at a level that we thought we could get passed through the board. And so I hope I completely hear what you're saying, and I do think it was a worthwhile comment.
Okay. Kathy, are you here? You want to talk about the other things going on with ARPA?
Sure, yes. One of the major updates has been that the final rule has been released. And so now we have both the interim rule and the final rule that we can follow. The final rule officially becomes in effect on April 1st. We can go ahead and follow it now, and we can also go ahead and follow the interim rule still as well. One of the major changes as a result of the final rule is that communities now have an option to designate up to $10 million under the lost public sector revenue. So previously, there was a calculation that needed to be made to determine how much revenue might have been lost due to the pandemic. And this new final rule allows any community to designate up to $10 million without using the equation to use for government services. So there's a lot more flexibility with that option. Of course, communities with less than 10 million still, cannot exceed their total allocation of ARPA funds. But in our case, we could go up to 10 million. So that's the most flexible change with the final rule. And there are some other modifications that they made as far as making more definition and details in some of these categories and allowances, a little bit of expansion, for example, in the water infrastructure, with lead remediation and other just specifically saying culvert projects and dam and reservoir projects and population increase projects for infrastructure for water. So some other updates in there as well, but the 10 million in revenue loss is the biggest change. We do have our first quarterly report due at the end of this month. And so the portal has been opened up with that requirement. We're looking through all the requirements on how to report and working through that to get that submitted. So that's the top priority right now is to get that submitted. It would mostly be administration and the mental health funds, because these will be expenditures that were completed as of December 31st of 2021. I've included a chart in there with commitments that you've outlined in the budget so far for categories for projects. And regarding those projects, we did send a See You at Home agreement for their signatures to be able to assist with their winter shelter services. And once we get that back with their approval and signatures, we can start with the process of the first payment. We also drafted an intergovernmental agreement for the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District to assist with their past due sewer bills. In speaking with Darlene today, it looks like that will need a resolution since it's an IGA, and will need to come to the full board or to the board in February for approval instead of just included for review here in the packet. We've also had other discussions with local communities regarding any past due sewer bill status, and they've indicated no needs for assistance there at this time. We've been working with the county departments regarding their approved purchases for this fiscal year's budget and the purchase orders and the different ways and the expenses proposed. And then we also have an upcoming discussion with the immigrant service organizations to work on a proposal for that funding as well. And we also have had other discussions about these topics that are on the plan for the next month. I know Darlene had mentioned too regarding the community violence intervention that the board may want to set aside an ad hoc committee for that for discussions. There are other initiatives, of course, in the community that we would want to make sure we're keeping in mind for whatever discussions for that initiative. So that's just a general update as of right now.
One of the specific questions for Kathy? Okay, I would like to just mention one other project because I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. It hasn't been proposed yet, so I would need your sort of consensus to go forward. Included also with utility assistance when we're considering the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District request, that covers about 75% of the county's households because they cover a larger area outside of Champaign and Urbana. They also include Savoy, Bonneville, some edge areas that are outside in the county, unincorporated areas. So they cover about 75% of the households. There are 3 other organizations that provide sewer assistance for families. And so I called them to see if they also were having difficulty with arrearages and payments. 2 of them said they are fine. One of them indicated that they have about 90 families that they think are in arrears, and that they thought $25,000 would cover that and get them caught up. So I'm wondering if the board would consider me doing another agreement with that. It's the Mahomet area. The Mahomet Village provides those services. If you'd be willing for me to add a $25,000 contract for them to cover, that would pretty much cover the county as far as people that are able to get the sewer assistance from us. And then, of course, in future, the Regional Planning Commission also has assistance for those kinds of things if there's people somehow that are falling through the cracks or get left out in other communities. Most of the rest of the county is covered by septic systems, and so they're not on a sewer system. So just would I have some direction to do that from the board? And I guess Stephanie's hand was raised first.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly support that. I mean, we put $450,000 into this category, and and I really do appreciate the work that Kathy and Darlene did in having a good conversation, because I think the initial proposal we received from the Urbana Champaign Sanitary District was higher, and so they worked through to really identify the folks and that to get it down to a number where it was really helping individual households. And so I really appreciate that. So we still have this only represents about 1/3 of the money that we allocated for mortgage and sewer assistance. And I do think that while it's nice for us to call upon other elected bodies to act, as we did with the resolution that we put forward, actual practical action is even nicer. And this is actual practical action that will help. This one act will help at least 300 families if everybody gets the maximum amount to get their sewer bills paid. That's a big deal. So I think we should absolutely extend it to Mahomet. And then I think we need to prioritize having a conversation with RPC to see if we can get that other piece, the mortgage assistance, off the ground, and just continually check in with them about their other utility assistance programs to make sure that they're funded at the level that they need to do. But so that gets us through about 1/3 of that money, and we still have 2/3 left to spend this year. So, but the big thing is, so yes on the Mahomet, and thank you.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
I missed, who is the other provider that you reach out to that you're asking for guidance on?
The Mahomet Village provides the sewer service for their community. So it would be to their public works department.
Did you just reach out to them on your own, or?
Yeah, I did. I just called because I was just thinking that we're covering 75% of the county with the the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District. I talked with them about where all they covered, and the conversation went to there are some other communities that are covered by other districts. So then I reached out to all of them to see what they were doing.
Then, Darlene, I would like to thank you for your foresight and leadership on this issue. I think you know that at least a majority of this board and Jacob Paul care really, and Diane and Jody care a lot about trying to prevent utilities from being shut off. So I would like to thank you for proactively doing that. That really shows a good amount of leadership on your part.
Thank you. Mr. Summers.
I just want to express my support for your intention to add the $25,000 to help cover folks in Mahomet.
Okay. Mr. McGuire.
Thank you. I'd like to agree with with the other comments. Well, some of the other comments, obviously, and that both the sanitary district and Mahomet are working to try to make sure this money goes as far as possible to the people that really need it. I'm obviously more for really supporting people and helping people than just a document that does not do that. Thank you.
Okay. Then I will proceed. I'll bring back to the next board meeting then a proposal for those two. Well, you've looked at the IGA for the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District. We'll do a very similar one for Mahomet then, and we'll try to get those approved at the next board meeting. Okay, thank you. The last business for tonight is on our agenda is the approval of the closed session minutes. And I apologize, we did pass around the closed session minutes at the last meeting that we met in person, and I skipped it on the agenda. So we didn't actually get them approved. And then we've had another closed session since that time. So we have approval of the closed session minutes for November 18th, 2021 and December 16th, 2021. And I need a motion for approval. Mr. Esri?
Yes, I move approval of the November 18th and December 16th, 2021 closed session minutes as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Mr. Goss?
Second.
Thank you. We really can't discuss. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy, raise your hand if you're going to have questions, and I will have to defer to the next meeting because we don't have a Zoom link set up to do a discussion. But if there's no discussion, we can go ahead and get this done. Okay, I'm not seeing any discussion. So would the clerk call the roll, please?
Dorsland.
Yes.
Finish Theronot.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Vulcan.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Carter. Coward.
Yes.
Esri.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
Michaels.
She was having some issues, I think, and isn't with us anymore.
Okay. Passalacqua. Paul. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Summers.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes unanimously. And I think we have no further business this evening. So I am calling the meeting adjourned. Thank you.